SnowRunner is an incredible game that explains almost nothing, and even veteran players are still discovering mechanics they never knew existed. In this SnowRunner Academy lesson, I'm breaking down what every driver should know before sinking hundreds of hours in. And today's lesson? Tires. They sound simple, pick the best stat in the menu and drive away, but tires aren't just an option, they are the game, or at least a massive part of it. Yeah, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye, let's fix that. In SnowRunner, tires is one of the most important components of the game. Choosing the right tires is often the difference between truck being unusable or pushing its potential to its limit. Yes, you could use the very lackluster stat indicator in the game to sort of get to the ballpark of choosing the right tire, but what the game doesn't tell you is a bunch of hidden stats and properties for each one of those tires. Friction values, width, weight of the tire, even hit points. None of this is explained or showed in the game. So how are the players supposed to make an informed decision, you ask? Well, I'll explain everything in this video, so stick around. Before we even look at the tires, we need to understand the main road surfaces that exist in the game. Asphalt is your normal asphalt highway roads in the game. In-game tire performance refers to this as on-road performance. In game files, it's referred to asphalt friction. Then we have hard dirt roads and other hard bodies like rocks or wooden bridges. This is normally a terrain that doesn't deform under your wheels. In-game tire performance refers to this as off-road, and in the game files, it's called body friction. Next up is mud and snow, and this is where we touch up on the first lesson I'm going to teach you later. Mud and snow is the same thing in this game. In-game tire performance refers to this as mud, and in the files it's substance. And last but not least, there is ice, which in-game tire performance refers to ice. And no, chain tires are not better in snow than mud tires because remember, snow is white mud. So 3 key things to remember: asphalt friction, body friction, and substance friction. Now with that out of the way, let's look at types of tires. There are 5 general types of tires in the game. Highway tires, as the name suggests, these are tires best used for highway driving and will have the highest friction rating for the asphalt. These tires are great for your highway trucks that do not leave the main road, and they will perform significantly worse anywhere else. Then you have all-terrain tires. These tires can cope with all types of surfaces excluding the ice. They have all friction values that are average, but none of them really good. They are kind of a jack of all trades but master of none. They can be best suited for highway driving mixed with some light off-road action. And talking about off-road action, of course there's off-road tires. These have the best ratings on any hard off-road surface like hard dirt, grass, even rocks. So they have the highest body friction. Remember this. These tires are quite often the most popular ones, and not vehicles can equip the next tire we're going to talk about, so off-road tires are generally a go-to choice for many trucks. And also off-road tires have above average or good rating for mud and snow also. And mud tires is our next type. As the name suggests, these are for your deformable terrains like mud or snow. While they have the highest substance friction for mud and snow, they also have good or very good friction for off-road or body friction, making this very popular option for most of your trucks that stay off-road. You might ask, why is the chain tires not better in snow? This is the biggest misconception by the players in SnowRunner. While real-life logic would dictate that chain tires would be the best, in SnowRunner, snow is simply white mud. We'll explain more about that later. So chain tires is a one-trick pony and only good on ice. There's no friction values for ice. The chain tires, they're just coded to ignore that surface. While they will work very well off-road, they will suffer a lot in mud and snow. I know this is strange, but you have to trust me on these. So you decide on the type of tire, you just open the tire option just to be hit by a ton of acronyms for different various subtypes of tire and no further explanation. You almost have analysis paralysis, and to be honest, I don't blame you. So let's try and understand these acronyms and what they potentially mean to you. For example, highway tires. If we look at the TranStar and disregard the tire option with the purple tag, these are DLC tires and we'll cover those later. If you have the base game, you will see that TranStar has an option of UHD tires. These stand for Universal Highway Doubles. So each one of these letters indicate three things. Universal is really the weight of the tire. Highway is obviously the type of tire. And double means the tires at the back are twin or double tires, which doubles the weight and increases stability. If we look at the other highway truck, for example, Mack Terra Pro, we see that the base highway tire selection now says HMD. That stands for Highway Medium Double, which indicates that this tire is even heavier than UHD tires, and that is correct. More weights on the tires, the better surface pressure, which equals to better traction really. You can put that power down easier. If we look at other examples, ATMD would be all-terrain medium double, OHD would be off-road heavy double, UODs are universal off-road doubles, OHS off-road heavy singles, MHS mud heavy single, not to be confused with MSH, which is mud super heavy. For scouts, it's a lot more simpler. HS is a highway scout, AS all-terrain scout, you get the idea. So you generally would be able to make more informed decision by knowing these. And obviously you have unique tires for quite a few vehicles, which will generally have a truck name or something like ZHM, Zix Heavy Mud, or ANCO, which is ANK Off-Road. There is a lot of inconsistencies with the tire names, so some of them make sense, some of them don't, but these acronyms are generally good indication of what the tire is and potentially how heavy it is. I'll show you later in the video how to find actual stats for each tire. So how the tires actually work? So apart from each tire having stats for their friction values for all types of surfaces, they also have weight, width, and softness. All SnowRunner physics are tied to mass or weight in game, so bear that in mind when we explore further. General rule, the heavier, the better. So the weight of the tires will increase the overall weight of your truck and make your suspension stiffer, which equals to you being able to carry more weight without decompressing the suspension too much and being more stable as well, especially when your tires are double at the back, which doubles the width. Having more wheels is not always better, but it helps in most cases. Softer tires result in a softer overall suspension feel. This can make truck more forgiving over small obstacles, but potentially more vulnerable to sideways tipping and less stable when carrying heavy loads. And stiffer tires or harder tires are often associated with dual tire setups, but this is really good for carrying heavy cargo, but it can make the truck more vulnerable to sudden jolts or obstacles, which can cause it to lift wheels off the ground and potentially roll. These are generally better for stability and handling. Now I'm going to show you a little test comparing MHS mud heavy singles and OHS off-road heavy singles and some OHDs in the mix, which is off-road heavy doubles. So first up, we have the tire built for the job, or at least it seems on paper. MHS 1 tire, which is primarily a mud tire, should perform good here. It has the mud or substance rating of 2.0. It completes the test in 1 minute 34 seconds. Now the OHS 2 tire, which is an off-road tire, which excels in off-road rather than mud, and we can see that it does very similar to MHS 1, which is 1 minute and 35 seconds. So both of these tires are medium stiffness and they both weigh 200 kg, and funnily enough, they are exactly the same width. OHS 2 tire here has a substance or mud rating of 1.8, which is worse than the MHS 1 tire. Lastly, we'll test a OHD 1, which is a double off-road tire. It does a lot better than the first two tires. It does it in 1 minute and 2 seconds. And the reason being is the tires are a lot heavier because there's simply more of them. So it actually pushes the back of the truck a bit more into the mud and it gives you more friction here. But before I explain further why this is happening, let me show you the same test with a lot more weight on each truck. So let's try the muds first, and the time is cut into 22 seconds only. We can see this improvement because pushing your tires into the mud provides you a lot more friction. So OHS2, which in theory should be the worst performing tire, with a lot more weight on the back, just sails through the course, leaving all competition in the dirt. Only 19 seconds to complete the test. And now OHD doubles. We see that with more weight, the truck actually becomes last in these tests. And why is that? Because double tires have such a wide footprint, they need more weight than a single tire to cut through the mud. You generally want to use these for your heaviest loads as it stiffens your suspension and prevents from compressing it too much, meaning your chassis can stay above the mud rather than dragging through it, but you need a lot more weight to push them down. So why was off-road OHS2 tire is better than the mud tire with some weight on the back? This is because this tire has the best dirt grip rating out of them. You might say, but this is mud we're testing in. And you're right, but under any mud is a layer of dirt or a layer of body. So that means the extra weight pushes these tires through the mud and into the dirt underneath, which lets it find extra grip under the surface. So basically, mud tires are not always the best, but can be situational. Bear with me, I'll explain this a lot more in detail later on. I just wanted to make a quick point about the OHD tires. If we add way more weight to OHD tires, we get an amazing result. 19 seconds, which is a joint best time with the OHS2 tires, but with 3 times more weight. These tires are really good, but they need a lot of weight to be pushed down through the mud and get a lot more friction. While there's no one best tire for everything, each scenario or truck loadout might require different tires. OHS2 might cut through the mud like a hot knife through butter. OHD ones will give you slightly worse performance maybe, but way better stability and can deal with even higher loads. Any additional weight we would put on those OHS2 tires in that test would actually start slowing the vehicle down, where it actually improved the performance for OHD ones. So, you know, it's really situational how you use your truck and how you use your tires. But let's now go in depth. How tires really work. So tires work like this. Imagine the mud as a layer on top with a hard surface underneath. So mud on top, which is substance, and hard layer of surface underneath, which is body. Wider tires will simply stay on top of the surface, never reaching the hard surface bottom. They will use their substance friction to propel your truck forward. So essentially their mud rating will keep you moving forward. Narrow tires will cut through that muddy substance layer and will reach the hard surface underneath, where it will use its body friction as well to find even more friction and move forward. This can be easily elevated by putting more weight on the back of the truck so it can be pushed down even deeper into the mud and have more surface pressure, which equals to even more traction. Double tire setups, as we've seen in the test, have a large footprint and they essentially float on the surface without any weight. They will need significantly more pressure or weight on them to be able to be pushed down and find that body friction underneath. What is very important here, that body friction and substance friction on the tires are cumulative. If you pushed your tires down enough to reach the body friction underneath, it doesn't mean that the tires' substance friction is relevant now. Easy way to think is this. Let's take the tires we already tested, OHS2s. They have the body friction of 3.0 and they have a substance friction of 1.8. That equals to 4.8. MHS1 tires has a body friction of 2.0 and a substance friction of 2.0, which equals to 4.0. So if you add those two numbers together, generally the higher number will mean that tire will perform better in the mud. Because remember, body friction and substance friction, both of these parameters are important in the mud. Only because you are in a mud, it doesn't mean only the mud or substance friction will matter. You need both of those to work together. OHS2 has a higher score and in most cases it will come out on top. Only because you are wading through the mud, it doesn't mean that the mud tire will be better. The biggest misconception here is that AMHS Action Mud Heavy Single, well, this is the first inconsistency actually in the tire acronyms, as this tire is actually a medium weighing only 100 kilos. I don't know why it's called heavy, but yeah, here we go. And TMHS Tega Mud Heavy Singles are both really good mud tires. This is the biggest misconception, guys. They are both very soft and a very wide tire, and they will never see the bottom of that deep mud. They will float on top. So they will use their substance friction to propel them forward. They will never, and I repeat, never get to the bottom of that mud and start using the body friction. Despite their look, they're not good mud tire for the trucks at all. You will keep moving forward, but very slowly. Even though their substance rating or mud rating is high, they will never get to the bottom to unlock their other half of the potential of that cumulative score. They are wide and good to improve truck stability though. So you can use them. They will get the job done, but they won't be the best tire by any mean. Another big thing to take in consideration is the vehicle's collision mesh. If the vehicle bottoms out easily, it will rest its belly on the surface of that mud and your wheels will not reach the ground to have any grip on the hardest surface. That's why the trucks with so-called ghost axles and no collision meshes underneath have such a good performance in deep mud. Their modeled underbelly or their lack of does not interfere with those skinny ass tires reaching the bottom of that mud and finding tons of grip. And there is obviously different depth of mud out there, but yeah, they are generally really good performers. So to recap, mud tires are not always the best. The friction values are cumulative in the mud, and the collision mesh plays a big part. So why OHD1 tires is the best tire in most cases? It's because it can be pushed down enough with your cargo to find that body friction grip underneath without compressing suspension too much due to heavy weight of the tires. So essentially you have the best combination of your belly of the truck not dragging on the mud too much, but also having a good friction with the cargo on the back. So now let's talk about chain tires. And let's touch up on the rocks a little bit as well. So iced or chain tires are always misused in this game. Players think they perform better in snow, but they don't. I know they would in reality, but this is a game. This is not a simulator either. Chain tires are essentially off-road tires with nerfed stats for substance. So they will be worse in the mud because remember, snow is a white mud. And they will generally perform way better than your regular off-road or mud tires in snow. Where they excel is ice. These tires are coded to ignore ice surface entirely. So they will drive on ice like a regular tire would on any other body. The other misconception is that they are the best for rocks for some reason. They share the same body friction of 3 as most of the off-road tires do. So they will perform there, but they're no better than any off-road tire. And as we mentioned rocks now, rocks use body friction stats for the tires. So off-road tires with 3.2 body friction stat will excel here. Also combine that with a softer tire and crawler suspension and you're ready to rock crawl. There's a DLC tire pack as well you can buy called Jack of All Trades tire pack. Generally, it's worth it, although in most cases, vanilla game tires are superior to these. There is few exceptions. For example, they provide excellent JAT MS3 tires for your scout vehicles. They are superior to vanilla tires for your scouts and will make them incredibly powerful in the mud. Why mud tires perform better on the scouts is because scouts generally don't have a lot of weight, so they'll float on the top of the mud anyway. So yeah, mud tire will be the best on your scouts. Also, if you're not worried about min-maxing your stats, they are generally good tires for your trucks as well. While they're not the top tires, some of them look really good. You get some additional rim options as well for your vehicle. So in my opinion, it's very well worth the price. Last couple of tips. If you struggle with all this information you just learned, don't worry, it's a lot. Everybody struggled too, and I struggled as well. Don't be afraid to experiment with different tire, but the general rule is if you go with this hierarchy I'm gonna show you now, you will be 99% of the time equipped with the best tire. If your truck can equip them, use OHD ones first all of the time. Then MSH2, which is for your heavy trucks. This is a really heavy tire, weighing over 600 kg. And remember what I mentioned at the beginning of the video, all SnowRunner physics are tied into the weights, so the heavier, the better. Then third option, if your truck can equip OHS2s, they are a single narrow heavy tire which performs really well in the mud. And if your truck can have none of those three first options, then we use UOD2s, which is generally available for most of the vehicles in the game. They are very sturdy, reliable tire that performs well everywhere. For the scouts, always use MS3s if you have the jetpack. If not, then obviously the standard mud tire will do just fine. So I've thrown a lot of stats at you, and you might think, well, the game doesn't show them anywhere in the UI. The best way to find all of these stats is by having a look at Corehone SnowRunner info Excel sheets. So I will drop a link in the description of the video down below, and there you can access all of the stats for any of your trucks, any of your engines, gearboxes, wheels, add-ons, you name it. Basically an ultimate SnowRunner info spreadsheet. I wish some of this was incorporated into the game, but so Corehone helped me understand a lot of these physics behind the tires and how tires actually work, so feel free to support him as well. So that's it. That's the core of how tires really work in SnowRunner. Once you understand them, the game gets a whole lot easier and a lot less frustrating. If this SnowRunner Academy lesson about tires helped you, drop a like and make sure to use the YouTube's new hype feature in this video to help push it out to more of the drivers. Stats show that only 10% of my viewers are subscribed, so I need your help here. If you can, subscribe for more Academy lessons and truck deep dives, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.